at the highest level. So yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure, sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Gonzalez got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life breathing in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I've got Green Bean to my this way and Matt to my that way. Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
Think I'm okay, man. It's a lot of weird stuff swirling around. Speculation season, it's weird. You know it's coming, but you still can't help chewing on some of it. You know what I mean? Weird.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's wonderful. I love this time of year. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Green Bean. It's like hard to keep up with all this stuff. It's like every day is something new. So I'm excited to chop it up with you guys in the comment section and see what's going on today in Jetsland.
I love it. Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in here, make sure you hit that like button if we've earned it. If not, hang around a little longer. Let us know if we've earned it by hitting that like button. For every 25 likes we get on this stream, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier for our t-shirt giveaway at the end of the show. And then if you want to get entered into next week's t-shirt giveaway, all you got to do is leave a comment down below this video after it has aired, and we'll enter you into next week's t-shirt giveaway. I also have a poll question in the live chat. Who do you want for quarterback? Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, or Aaron Rodgers? That's in there, so make sure you vote on that on your way in. All right, boys and girls, there's been a lot of speculative news and rumors and everything going on, and it's kind of fun. Like Green Bean was saying, it's, a fun time of year, and like Matt was saying, it's hard to keep up with everything. Everything's just constantly going and going and going and going and going. And you know what? There's Lamar Jackson rumors. There's Aaron Rodgers rumors. There's, who's going to come back for the New York Jets, offensive coordinators, all that good stuff. Before we go into some of the quarterback news that's a little bit bigger, I want to go over to our prospective offensive coordinators. These are some names that have popped up over the course of the last few days. So I want to take a look at it, get some of your thoughts. I know some of us have made mock-off seasons or prospective thoughts on the offensive coordinator situation. So Kevin Patullo, the Eagles pass game coordinator, Marcus Brady, the Eagles offensive consultant, Joe Brady, Bills quarterback coach, Darrell Bevell, Dolphins quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, Nick Callie, Patriots tight end coach. I think there was one more that was supposed to be on the list as well for right now, but these are the names that have kind of been associated and that the Jets were going to be asking them for interviews coming up. Matt, any thoughts on this list right here or any names that I may not have included?
Yeah, I mean, this list isn't exactly the most inspiring, which makes me a little bit nervous to see the direction that they're going to go. But just some quick thoughts on the guys that you have laid out. I think of this group, Bevell is the one I'd be most interested in because he has that experience and he's had success in a few different spots with Minnesota, with Favre. Favre arguably had his best statistical season at 40 years old in 2009 with Bevell as the OC. I liked what he did with Russell Wilson early in his career. Yes, they were very much so focused on the run game. They were a run-first team, but with Breece Hall and Michael Carter and Zonovan Knight, that feels like what the Jets are going to be trying to do in 2023 and beyond, so I'd be okay with that. And I think he's done a good job with Tua this past year. The only other guy that slightly interests me on this list is Joe Brady, but I think that's even a little bit too risky at this point. I really like his upside, but similarly to Mike LaFleur, it's kind of a developmental one, or there's someone who, or he's someone that has some risk with him. Everyone else is pretty uninspiring on this list, I think, unfortunately.
Green Bean, what about you? How you feeling about this list right here?
I hate this list. I think,
It's like gut wrenching, right? Like it's not as. It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have let go of LaFleur.
well, look, look, I'm gonna continue. Like I keep making myself fall back to this idea. I trust Joe Douglas. That's what I'm doing. I have to do that because it's very easy for my wheels to spin and think that they're, that the wheels are falling off. Like when I look at a list like this, now Darrell Bevell would be an exceptional hire. Okay, he's been around a long time. He's been a head coach. And on an interim basis, 2 separate times, he was the guy responsible for the development of Russell Wilson early on. Great success with him, great success with Brett Favre. He's the guy who called the worst play call in NFL history, which is the Seattle pass on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl that got intercepted by Malcolm Butler. But the thing is, I want somebody who's already made those mistakes, right? Like not that shit's in their feet. He's not doing that again. I'm telling you right now. He won't be biting on that kind of an idea. So anyway, he's a really attractive candidate for me. Kevin Patullo, great. Why'd we get rid of LaFleur? So we just watched him stumble and bumble for 2 years. Now we're going to get a guy who's never done it before. I don't know. And we're going to watch him learn. Fucking Nick Caley. What is Nick Caley? Dude, the Patriots needed an offensive coordinator and didn't hire him. They brought in their former special teams coach and their defensive coordinator and let them run plays. So where's the attraction to this guy? Joe Brady, look, dude, I don't even know what the love affair is with Joe Brady. With all due respect, he's never done a damn thing. Never. The only thing he's ever done is he happened to be the passing game coordinator when Joe Burrow went off at LSU. That's it. I don't know what it is. At least he's called plays. I'll give you that. Not very good ones, very successful, but at least he did that. The list is disappointing, man. I'd like to see Monken. I'd like to see Olsen. I'd like to see some guys that have done this before, man, and that we're not going to have to watch them. It's one thing to make bad moves. It's another entirely to not know what moves to make. And that's what we saw with LaFleur. I don't want to see that again, man. Why? He was going into his 3rd year. Just keep him, So anyway, I trust Joe Douglas, but it's scary at this point.
Yeah, for me, Kevin Patullo is a no right off the bat. He's never been an offensive coordinator before. That's the same reason for Nick Caley as well. I don't want either one of them here. Now, Kevin Patullo was a Frank Reich recommendation. He knows Rex Hogan. And then Nick Caley has a connection with Jets Chief of Staff Steve Sarnecchia, and that's the connection with those two guys. Apparently, Nick Caley is supposed to be this huge up-and-coming coach, much more than a tight end coach under McDaniels was the quote that I saw for him. But yeah, I don't want either one of those guys. I want someone with experienced offensive coordinator, play calling. And Joe Brady, as much as I wanted him as OC a few years ago when we were looking at getting rid of Gase, it's not something I want to particularly go with right now. He didn't have any hand in developing Josh Allen up in Buffalo. He's only been there for 1 year. In Carolina, I thought he was pretty uninspiring. I really did like him at LSU. I like him being plucked from the New Orleans Saints as well. I think there is a lot of upside there. I just think he's a little too green for us. Marcus Brady, kind of interesting. The rumor I heard was that Kevin Patullo would be offensive coordinator, Marcus Brady would be quarterback coach. There's rumors that they would be a package deal wherever they eventually end up. I wouldn't want that pairing. I'd be very upset with that. Darrell Bevell, to me, like you guys said, is the one that for me hits the most chords. Like, if I'm looking for an offensive coordinator, I want the guy that's going to be able to utilize the talent I have on staff already. So you're talking Breece Hall. And I mentioned the Adrian Peterson and Marshawn Lynch offensive coordinator. There's Green Bean brought up the worst play call in NFL history, not running it with Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl. Remember, at that time, there was a rift in the locker room between a large portion of the players and some players that backed Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was not one of the guys, if you remember correctly, and they wanted to have Russell Wilson win that Super Bowl as opposed to Marshawn Lynch winning that Super Bowl. That's why that play call was made, or at least that's the theory behind it, given this, the stuff that was going on at that point in time. I really like Darrell Bevell. I love that he was one of the first guys to scout Russell Wilson. He was one of the few guys at his pro day, actually. And then you go And you see the success he had with him. You see the success he had with Stafford. You see the success he had, with Tavares Jackson, Brett Favre, even to a lesser extent with Trevor Lawrence after Urban Meyer was fired, and then with Tua this past year. There's probably arguments to be had for, okay, well, did Lawrence take off, with Doug Peterson? Did Tua take off with Tyreek Hill? There's some things like that. But I think Darrell Bevell could at least provide, offensive coordinator status for 4 previous teams. So there's a lot of knowledge. It sounds like he bends his scheme to fit the players that are on the team. So that to me is where I'd go. Like I said, or like you guys said, Greg Olsen, wish he would be thrown on there. That's the connection to Derek Carr. My understanding is he's not real interested in leaving the West Coast. So there's a good shot he winds up staying in LA with McVay and Stafford. So it's just kind of, I don't know. I'd love to see Monken in here. Monken's a really high up there on my list kind of person, but he's getting $2.5 million to be the OC of Georgia. I can't see any way he's coming to New York for that, to probably make less money if I had to guess. Not to mention I would think his system is far more pass oriented, which maybe it doesn't necessarily matter because we're casting a wide net, but like I'd like us to focus on Breece Hall and some of the clock controlling type stuff here. Matt, any additional thoughts with what I've just kind of rambled on about right here?
Yeah, I really like that you brought up Monken, because that's someone who was on the head coaching list when the Jets ended up hiring Adam Gase, which is just still hilarious even 3 years later. With Monken, he's someone who has had experience and success in multiple places. He's doing a phenomenal job in Georgia, or with Georgia, and even in Tampa Bay when he was the OC there with Jameis Winston. I thought he really got a lot out of that offense with a quarterback who is just a turnover machine. So I think he would add a really nice element to this offense. The one thing, though, Woody would have to pony up, man. He's making I think it's $2 million a year.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's an insane number. So open up the piggy bank and let's go. Let's get some legitimate guy in here so we're not dealing with Nick Caley, who Bill Belichick, his buddy, didn't think highly enough to make him an offensive coordinator after 8 years with the team. Instead, he brought back his reject defensive coordinator and his reject special teams coach to run the offense. So, open up the bank.
Green Bean, your thoughts here? Anything else?
Well, yeah, man. I mean, Matt, you guys just nailed it. With Nick Caley irks me. I understand the wide net. Yay, wide net. I would much rather they don't waste anybody's time with bringing in a bunch of losers that are not going to be able to do it. Again, we don't know what these guys are going to be in the future. They might, just like you said, Nick Caley, he might be an up-and-coming. LaFleur was an up-and-coming. Yeah. We get it, dude. If we were going to go that route, stick with the guy that already made 2 years of mistakes underneath you and refine them. If you're going to do that. If you can't do that, why are we even considering doing that again? I don't know. It makes no sense. Now, look, just like always, doesn't matter who we hire. I'm going to root for them. I'm going to want them. I'm going to find the positives and try to do all that stuff. But I wish they would just go out there and, you grab Bevell. He comes in the building and you go, hey, look, Darrell, we don't want you to leave, man. What is it going to take? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's it going to take? We want you here. We want you here for the duration. We'll link up your contract with Saleh's, 3 more years or whatever, 4 years, whatever the hell it's got to be. It's not going to be a one and done, because that's the whole fear, man, is that, that Joe Douglas and Saleh are going to start, governing their actions from a position of fear, right? Now they have to do this and that. And then once you do that, then good guys aren't going to come here because they smell it. There's blood in the water. You know what I mean? They don't want to attach to that. You get guys that are desperate or trying to make a name for themselves. I wish the Jets would just put all their resources in, bring Woody to the table and let Woody say, nobody's getting fired. Nobody's getting fired. Just come on here. We want you. We want a vet. We'll lock you up for 4 years or whatever, and let's go get ourselves Derek Carr, and you can help us work on this idiot kid that we drafted that can't get his head out of his ass. You can help us do that too. And just really, that's what I'd like to see happen. Just focus, get it done tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a wide net. I don't need 3 weeks of losers coming into the building. Just go get Bevel, Monken, or Olsen, one of these guys, and say, let's get it done. Lock them up, and let's move on.
I completely agree with you, Green Bean. One more thing on Nick Callie, the thought process with him, much more than a tight ends coach under McDaniels. It's the thought that maybe Garoppolo maybe would follow him. So he's, if the Jets swing and, well, I guess you'd want to hire him prior to that, but I don't want to hire him. So yeah, no, but the Garoppolo connection, I think, is where he may pop in, I guess. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Blitz Crew dropped in. Blitz Crew says multiple big name quarterbacks are in the mix. Doubt any of the big name offensive coordinators will be officially in the mix. Lamar and Aaron would want input in the process. I don't think you allow them to have input in the process. Maybe Rodgers to an extent, but I would think maybe he wants to play with Nathaniel Hackett, and then you make things work that way. Hackett may want to take a year off, so you could actually, if you swing and miss on Rodgers, you don't have to hire Hackett as the OC. You could hire him as like the senior advisor later on. Like, you don't have to do that right this second, which I think is a nice little positive considering you can't trade for Rodgers until after June 1st. But yeah, I don't know if I'd give Lamar input as far as the offensive coordinator that would come in. I really like Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach from Philly. If the plan is to go after Lamar, then Brian Johnson being the quarterback coach for the offense in Philly is interesting because I think he was the youngest offensive coordinator in college football history, and he's been an OC for 3 college teams. So it's not ideal. But he's someone I would consider looking at for the OC in conjunction with a senior guy as well. Matt, any thoughts on Aaron or Lamar having input on the next OC?
I don't think either of them will. I think we are going to find out who the offensive coordinator is way before we find out who the quarterback that they're going to bring in. And more than likely, whoever they hire is going to have an input on the direction that they go at quarterback. I would think it'd be like the exact opposite, actually, that it's going to be the OC along with Saleh and Douglas kind of teaming together and figuring out, all right, what are we going to do at the quarterback position, rather than, all right, let's get our quarterback and then after figure out who's going to run the offense. That doesn't really seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, Green Bean, I want to ask you your thoughts on this too. Do you think there is, do you think maybe in the interview process, they are vetting guys saying, who do you want as quarterback? Or do you think that's a conversation after they determine the offensive scheme they want to go with and the guy they like?
I bet it's brought up for sure. I mean, right now we have no quarterback. You know what I mean? Unless they're going to push this Zach thing, which, truth be told, it's one of the things that scares me a little bit. Again, I trust Joe Douglas, okay? But in my own head, these are the things I explore. I have thoughts and I explore them. My concern would be that they're out there saying, hey, we really love this kid, Zach Wilson. Like, I think that's going to probably push a lot of people away. It'll take at least some guys off. They're like, look, guys, I'm not going to hitch my cart to him. That's just not what I'm doing. I'll develop him on the side if you'd like, whatever. But I think that when you have this is a huge decision. And don't forget, this offensive coordinator now gets to choose his wide receiver coach and offensive line coach. So there's going to be a nice chunk of stuff to talk about here. And I think one of them has to be, well, which type of quarterback are you into? Look, we have an opportunity. We're going to go out there. Woody Johnson's got he's got itchy fingers with a pen in it. He wants to spend fucking $100 million. So we can go out there and get somebody. If we're going for Carr, if we're going for Lamar, which guy makes you happy? Which guy interests you? I think that's definitely part of the conversation. I think it'd be stupid not to. You find out that, you go out there and sign Lamar, and he's like, Lamar? I don't want Lamar. What the fuck are we doing here? So I think it's very, very important. to get that at least have that conversation going in the interview process for sure.
Tony 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐲 drops in and says, we want Todd Monken to electrify our dead offense. P.S. Streveler package. I love the idea of the Streveler package because I really like Taysom Hill and how they utilize him in New Orleans. So I would love to see something similar here, especially if you have someone that maybe is more of a statue-esque quarterback and you wanted to try and maybe score in the red zone and you had some kind of, read option type deal on the goal line there. I like that idea. As far as Monken, I love it. I just don't think we're going to get $2.5 million for an offensive coordinator to pull him away from Georgia. Justin Crazy says, would you consider Fitzmagic as quarterback coach? The former Harvard guy coming in, being the quarterback coach, threw a zillion interceptions, been on a bunch of teams. I don't know. I consider anyone being the quarterback coach at this point in time. I just want the quarterback to work out. So does Fitzpatrick want to coach and he's smart enough? Go for it. I don't know if he was ever the mentor type quarterback, though. He was more of a stopgap kind of guy. Matt, you're shaking your head. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he was not a mentor. I think he specifically said, I'm not here to mentor whoever was, whether it was Hackenberg or Petty or both or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's probably the last guy that I would want to be the quarterback coach. He had a lot of really bad habits. He was a fun player. 2015 was a lot of fun, but he was extremely streaky. For someone to teach habits on our quarterback, I would hope it would be someone who was a little bit more consistent in their career and maybe didn't go out with so much noise. I seem to remember saying he hated his time with the Jets in 2016.
Green Bean, Ryan Fitzmagic, your new OC or quarterback coach? Quarterback coach, sorry, not OC.
No. I'll tell you what. I would be into, though. Like, if we were going to go out there and get Aaron Rodgers, just don't even get an offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Just let him, you know what I mean? Just let him do it. Let him
just get a quarterback coach to specifically work with Zach and let Aaron call all the plays. Just Aaron, yeah, you'll do exactly what you want to do.
Right. Let him hang out. Like, you send him Coach Middleton. Like, hey, Aaron, you and Coach Middleton, just figure it out. You can call the plays. Coach Middleton can take your ideas and pump it up to the crowd. You know what I mean? Make sure everybody understands and communicate it. I would do that before I sign Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick, I mean, I don't know. If he wanted to get into coaching, he's an exceptionally smart man. Like, we know that. I think he was Harvard, right? Harvard or Princeton. I think he's Harvard. So, look, and he figured out a way. He figured out how to fool like 4 different organizations into believing that year he had with them was worth giving him a nice big contract. And then he would go from Fitzmagic to Fitztragic. He'd leave, and he'd do the same thing to the next organization. So I almost think it's by design. So if he's working towards something, similar goal, maybe it would be good. But I think more than likely he's just a bunch of hot air, and there's really no substance to him. I'd probably go elsewhere.
Dante drops in and says, I know these aren't mutually exclusive, but is the focus on calling/creating a good offense or development of Zach Wilson? I feel we should at least focus on offensive coordinator and much less on Zach's development. Yeah, I completely agree. I think Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh have their back against the wall. I think they are going to do things we haven't seen them do in previous off seasons to facilitate them getting to the playoffs and having a successful season. So I think you could see Joe Douglas trade picks and use salary cap space that he won't be here to use if we don't make the playoffs. So that's the kind of concern and the weird morph in ideology when you have someone with their back against the wall. I do want someone here to potentially develop Zach, but if we go with Carr or Lamar, I would say that's probably less so a need. I would say Aaron Rodgers would be the way we go if we have a lot more faith in Zach Wilson, which I don't know if we do now that we're hearing so much about Carr and Lamar, with the Jets being the favorites to land both those guys. Green Bean, your thoughts on a good offense or developing Zach Wilson? Could be both, but...
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be weird no matter how you slice it, Dante. Generally speaking, if you look through NFL history, when there's an incumbent starting quarterback, like somebody who was the team's starter, when they move away from him, other than the year that it happens, like mid-year, 99% of the time, the team will get rid of that quarterback. Okay, it's a bad move, generally speaking, to keep the previous starter on the roster. There's all sorts of potential splits that can happen. There's a lot more negative that comes with it than positive. So the fact that the Jets are considering doing this, they have to make it a very understood that this is not a quarterback competition. Zach is not going to be the potential starter. No, he's been reduced to a development guy. That's what he's doing. If they do that, it might be able to work. I don't think that you can have bring somebody in here and have that convoluted, weird kind of thing like Zach might be the starter. Or I think the focus has to be utilizing the guys that we already know can play at an NFL level, figuring out how to get these guys into the end zone. Whatever happens with Zach is gravy, if it ever happens. That's what I think. I think the focus has to be on the offense. Zach's development, as much as we use the number 2 pick and he's important, all that shit, it's all but washed down the drain, in my opinion. Whatever you get from him at this point is gravy. And again, they got to make that so the team understands. There's no quarterback controversy here. If it's Derek Carr, if it's Lamar Jackson, if it's Aaron Rodgers, if it's Gardner Minshew, it doesn't matter who it is. They are the starter. Zach is developmental. And I think that's the only way that it can work. Again, I can't think of a team that kept their previous starter around, especially somebody who started for at least 2 years. I can't think of one. I don't, maybe you guys can. I can't think of a team. I'm trying to while I'm talking.
Matt, any thoughts on having a good offensive coordinator, creating a good offense, or being more focused on Zach's development?
I think that's the quarterback coach's job. I think that you should be the offensive coordinator should be focused on building the offense and just like optimizing 2023, right? Because that's what matters. Because if they don't have a good offense in 2023, it doesn't matter if Zach Wilson develops a year from now, because none of these guys are going to be here if they miss the playoffs and are really bad offensively. But that's exactly what a quarterback coach is supposed to do. Now he works with the starter, yes, of course, but he's going to spend time with everyone else in the positional group. So I think that's why you have a quarterback coach.
I completely agree, Matt. That was well said. I want to jump into a few clips from some stuff that happened, we'll get into it. A little bit of some rumor news potentially again up here, and then we'll get back to some super chats on the other side. So this one is going to be about Lamar Jackson.
Where do they stand with Lamar Jackson?
Well, first of all, interesting note on the broadcast, Lamar Jackson was not there. He was not with his team, which is not entirely rare, guys, for injured players. Sometimes you don't travel players because of swelling. Makes sense, but he was not there. Lamar Jackson still dealing with that PCL sprain. And I got to tell you, I'm a little sad I'm not going to be discussing this for the next several weeks as the Ravens keep going on, because we've discussed it so many times. But it was interesting to me to hear Marlon Humphrey, kind of a veteran spokesman for the Ravens after the game, say, we've seen Lamar in the facility. He's limping around. A lot of people don't see that. He's right. We've all been talking about, like you guys were saying, put a brace on it. Can he just go? Why is he not out there? People, Michael Vick's calling for just, he could not go. Now, for the Baltimore Ravens, their next step is to get to the offseason, which they are about to be in right now, start negotiating a long-term deal with Lamar. They went down the road a little bit before the season, did not get there. If they can't do a deal, he will get the franchise tag. Is it going to be the exclusive franchise tag where no one can touch him? Or is it going to be the non-exclusive where someone could come in and make an offer sheet? That's kind of the next drama with Lamar, but he is still their quarterback going forward.
All right, so you heard it there from me in Rappaport. Lamar Jackson, and currently the Jets are the betting favorites to get Lamar Jackson, which is kind of interesting. One thing that he mentioned there at the end, everyone's thinking that Lamar Jackson is going to get the franchise tag. There is a situation where, Baltimore just can't figure out a contract with Lamar Jackson, and they decide to hit him with the non-exclusive franchise tag, allowing him to then talk to every other team to find out what his value is worth. And then if he signs an offer sheet with one of the teams, that offer sheet goes back to Baltimore. Baltimore then looks at it. They decide, okay, I can either sign this and we will retain Lamar, or we can refuse it and we're going to take that other team's 2 first-round picks. which would be really interesting because if they do that, I would 100% go after Lamar for 2 first-round picks. I think that is a no-brainer. And it allows the Ravens to at least gauge how the rest of the NFL views Lamar, and they don't have to necessarily overpay for someone that it seems like they're having some reservations about paying already. So I want to ask you guys, Green Bean, I'll start with you first. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson possibly using, maybe the Ravens use the non-exclusive franchise tag on him? What are your thoughts overall about Lamar?
It's funny. I was just Jennifer Slattery. I see you in there. She's got a baseball bat. She's like hitting any any anti-Lamar shit down. She's out there crushing it. I was just gonna comment to you about that. But here's my thoughts on Lamar. Number one, I think the non-exclusive tag idea is fantastic because what that does, it enables the player to see what's real. You know what I mean? Reality. What's reality? He doesn't have an agent. Let's remember that. So Lamar Jackson is negotiating for himself, which is ill-advised, quite frankly. Now he's going to save himself a little bit of coin, obviously. What do they get? 6%, some shit like that?
I think it's 10%, I think is what someone told me.
Yeah, right. So whatever, right. So he's saving that on the back end when it happens. That's a positive, of course. But in the meantime, he's hearing everything that the Ravens don't like about him because that's what they do in these contract negotiations. They say, well, I don't know, man. Listen, he missed 5 games each of the last 2 years. If you look at his stats, every year the stats have gone down. The passing yards go down. The completion percentage goes down. The touchdowns go down. The rushing yards go down. The rushing touchdowns go down. So how the hell we just offered him $40 million or 40? How can we possibly justify? So he's hearing that shit from the owners when usually the agents kind of absorb that end and you can just focus on football and your coaches and all that sort of stuff. So I think that I understand why people like Jets fans are saying, dude, for once in our life, can we just swing for the fences and get the guy? I get it. I am one who does not believe he's the guy. I think he's probably got a few years left of high caliber, football, if that. Again, dude, he's injured now. You know what I mean? Right now. So let Lamar Jackson go out there, find out that nobody really is going to offer him $50 million. Like maybe the highest offer is 40 and the Ravens offer was the highest that he could get. I mean, maybe that happens and then they work something out. I'd hate to see us give $50 million. And I saw O'Leary's, he put out the mock thing today with the trade for Lamar. I almost vomited in my mouth to give all that away. And I get it. That's the going rate for these kinds of things. Like 3 firsts, seconds, thirds, fourths, and all that. I'd hate to see us give all that up and pay $50 million. And in a year and a half, we have an injured RG3 situation on our hands, man. And that's my fear with this guy. I get it. I'd love to have that kind of a player. I think the last 2 years, the fact that he's missed 5 games each of the last 2 years and his numbers keep going down, I'd say it's fool's gold.
So the one thing about Lamar's numbers that I think are interesting is that he's just really efficient. Like his numbers don't look great. Like he hasn't had a 4,000-yard passing season, but he doesn't throw the ball a whole lot. Like if he threw the ball the same amount as Tom Brady this year with the same yards per attempt that he has, he'd have that 64% completion percentage, which he already currently has, or 62, whatever he had this year. And he'd have over 5,000 passing yards. So like Lamar, if given the opportunities, has been an efficient passer. The injuries, like you mentioned, the 5 games lost this year, 5 games lost last year, I think is a concern. And I think there is definitely some additional wear and tear that happens on his body. I view Lamar as someone who takes shots like a wide receiver, not like a running back. I know a lot of people kind of call him and Fields running backs more than quarterbacks and whatnot. But for me, I think I see Lamar sliding. I think I see him running out of bounds a lot. And the last 2 years, he's been hurt in the pocket. He hurt his ankle in the pocket, or his knee in the pocket. It wasn't from, running around or doing anything that we would, categorize as Lamar specific compared to like other quarterbacks. Like Tom Brady got injured in the pocket. Like these things can happen as well. But it's just interesting. It's, the dynamic that goes into place. Is Lamar actually worth that? Matt, your thoughts on Lamar Jackson, and would you make the trade for him?
Lamar is this is a really complicated one. So I kind of want to talk through it a little bit because, like Green Bean said, a lot of people were mad in my comments on that post about how much I gave up to get Lamar. And I was like, well, I'm not even saying like this is my preferred plan. I'm just doing an offseason like, hey, this is probably what it would take to get a player like this. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I think there's a large portion of the fan base that's maybe discredits Lamar a little bit too much. I think they discredit him as a passer. But at the same time, I also see the opposite end of the spectrum where they're like, how could you even like, this is a no-brainer. I don't think I would go as far to say that it's a no-brainer. I think it's a very nuanced conversation and one that's worth having because, yes, when he's healthy, to me, there's no doubt he is at worst the 12th best quarterback in the league, probably closer to top 10. But he's missed 5 games each of the last 2 years. You would have to give up multiple first rounders, and then you'd have to pay him. What does that look like on your cap after that? And then how does that affect the other players that you're potentially going to, need to retain and sign? But then it swings back the other way when you look at what he could potentially do to elevate this offense. I don't know. There's so many elements in this one that I don't think it's fair to just completely dismiss it, but then also to say, oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You have to do it. I don't know if it's my number one option, but I would get it if this was the swing that they wanted to take at the position. It's hard to say, oh, it doesn't make sense. No, it does, because when he's on the field, he's one of the more electric players in the game. So I would absolutely get it if this is the direction the Jets wanted to go.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very nuanced conversation. It's not something that you can make in a vacuum. But what's nice about Lamar, and I think this is accurate, is I don't think Lamar gets traded until closer to the draft, unless he's just going to get so much money that they have to trade him at the beginning part of the free agency period, just so teams know where like this guy's going to go and how things kind of break down and whatnot. The nice thing for me is that you can go after Carr first because he's a free agent in February. You can go after Jimmy G second if you want because he's a free agent in March. Lamar, if he gets traded closer to the draft, he could be your third option after you've tried to do everything else. And then if he gets too rich and you decide you want to call your best buddy and Matt LaFleur over in Green Bay, then June 1st, you get to go take a look at Aaron Rodgers, which I think is a pretty nice segue. So, guys, we'll get into your super chats. I want to talk about the Aaron Rodgers stuff. So this is Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, and we'll come back on the other end.
If there's a rebuild going on, I won't be a part of it. I'm sure that'll trigger somebody asking them, are you guys rebuilding? And the answer would be, of course not. We got this and we got that, but it's a mindset. If they want to go younger and think Jordan's ready to go, then that might be the way they want to go. And if that's the case, and I still want to play, then there's only one option, right? That's to play somewhere else. If it's not, and they, like, no, we still want you to play, and this and that, then it'd have to be, the right situation with the roster. It looks like we can win it all, because there's no point coming back if you don't think you can win it all.
This was a very nice interview from Aaron Rodgers, I felt like. And he's right. Why come back if you're not going to try and win it all? Like this, right. I'm here to win. He's got $59 million. There's a big-time option that the Packers have to pick up before week 1 of this year that allows the Packers to actually trade Aaron Rodgers. And if you exercise that option, he gets an injury guarantee for, I believe it's... Is it $40 million? I guess it's injury guaranteed for $59 million, but his cap hit for this year would only be $15 million. So there is an easy way to get this trade done. The other part of that interview that I didn't have in that clip was Aaron Rodgers talking about, and he mentioned it sort of briefly, was the players and what the roster looks like to Green Bay for him to want to come back. And the names he had mentioned before were Mercedes Lewis, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, David Bakhtiari. So there's situations where you could bring in an Aaron Rodgers, and maybe there's, this might be the best option. I like Derek Carr a lot, but there's a situation with Aaron Rodgers that I think is very, very fascinating, depending on what you're going to need to trade for him. And I think since this trade is going to have to happen post June 1st, I think you're looking at something that would be like a conditional 2024 pick. It might be a third round pick that elevates to a second round pick if he's on the roster in 2024. I would do that all damn day because that allows you to use your first round pick on a left tackle. Now, if you wanted to trade down from that first, number 13 overall pick, and you were like, hey, if Rodgers wants David Bakhtiari coming back here, maybe you bring him in as your left tackle. He's like 31 years old, so it's a little bit longer in the tooth, but you you might be able to attract a Lazard who's 6'5" that you want to try and replace Corey Davis with. There's players that could come with Aaron Rodgers that might take lower deals because, like Aaron Rodgers said, why come back if you're not going to try and win it all? And the Jets, as they're currently constructed, I think can win it all with someone like Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And not to mention it gives Zach Wilson, his idol, to sit behind for at least another year. You kind of gauge him throughout practice in the offseason and you say, okay, Zach, we're going into next year and you're going to be the guy, year 4, or if Rodgers wants to come back, Zach, we're going to exercise your 5th year option maybe, and you're going to be the guy in year 5, or you kind of figure out where you feel best with Zach and with Rodgers. But I think there's a lot to like about Rodgers. And I think he gives us the best chance to win because I think he's the best quarterback at the lowest price trade-wise. Green Bean, your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers?
Well, number one, I think that was such a refreshing take from someone, and I look over the years, I haven't been the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan over the years, partially because I'm jealous and all that shit, and our quarterbacks suck. He said something about Mark Sanchez years ago, and that was it. I don't like Aaron Rodgers anymore. You know how I am. I hold grudges, man. So I'm very petty. But what a great way to say it, man. It's like, look, dude, if they're gonna do that, I'm not doing that. So if that's what they want to do, I respect it, but I'm out. And I want to keep playing. So the only way to do that is to go somewhere else. I think everybody should be that upfront and clear. I think if the world was doing that, we would have a lot less bullshit going on. Now, I've heard him called a diva because of that. Like, oh, listen to him, he's a diva. I beg to differ. That's just my take is no, man. He's telling you flat out what he wants. He's happy to be a part of it. If it's this, I'm not doing it. If it's that. And if that's what you want to do, I respect it. I'm going to do something else. And I also like what he said. The situation has to be right. When you look why is he going to go to the Texans? You know what I mean? It's like when they have nothing going on down there, or, why go down there and just be the quarterback that gets beat up behind no offensive line with nobody to throw to for the next 3 years, So, but you look at the Jets and what I think about that is, okay, well, are we the right place? Well, we have a top 5 defense with bona fide studs on it, potential superstar level talent on it. You got Garrett Wilson, you got Breece Hall, you got Bam Knight, Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, and on and on and on. I mean, it's like we have a lot of young talent on here. With somebody like Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. Aaron Rodgers would find Elijah Moore, and we wouldn't be feeling the way that we feel about him. He's open, dude. I watched the All-22. There's at least 5 or 6 plays a game, at least every game where Elijah Moore's running free. Our quarterbacks don't see him, don't find him. Mike LaFleur tells them not to throw it. I don't know what it is. Aaron Rodgers would find him. And when you have guys like Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore open all day, it's going to be a whole different level. I would love to get Aaron Rodgers if it didn't cost the 3 firsts and all that shit. That stuff was a little bit much for me, but I think that was very well said, and I would love to have him.
Matt, your thoughts on an Aaron Rodgers trade?
Yeah, I don't think it would be nearly as costly as Lamar trade. So that is obviously an upside there because you don't have to give up as many assets. But I'm gonna be honest, I'd be very afraid of a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers just falling off a cliff. Like that, just like, this is it, man. Was this a little bit at the start of the regression? He went down under 3,700 yards passing, 26 touchdowns. Interceptions went way up, highest or second highest of his career, 12 interceptions. I think he's a massive upgrade. I would be happy if it was Aaron Rodgers, but in the back of my mind, they'd be like, shit, man, when are the wheels just going to fall off? Is it going to be this year?
Yeah, the nice thing about the Rodgers thing is at least that's your last option. That's the panic option. Like, oh no, we need a Band-Aid for a year, and then we're going to go back to Zach because we screwed this up and we didn't get Carr, we didn't get Lamar, we didn't get Jimmy G. I don't know. It's interesting stuff to talk about. I think it would be fascinating. The only thing I think with Rodgers is I don't know if he wants to follow exactly in Brett Favre's footsteps, because him coming to New York is verbatim what Brett Favre did. Now, the nice thing is Brett Favre did not win anything with the Jets. We got to 8-3, one of the best records in the AFC at the time before he tore his bicep. And then, maybe Rodgers wants to come here and beat what Favre did, because if he gets a Super Bowl in New York, the guy is going to be looked at as a god. So it's going to be fascinating to see how all of that shakes out. All right, let's go back to some of our super chats in here. I want to get your guys' thoughts on stuff. Citybird, you're up first. He says, almost every team with a defensive coordinator type head coach will always complain about their offensive coordinator and vice versa. As fans, we should just get used to it and accept this. I don't think Saleh was complaining about their offensive coordinator. I think it's more so if you have a specialty on one side of the ball, like a defensive coordinator like Robert Saleh, you need someone who could be the guy that can oversee everything. That's why a senior offensive assistant like a Greg Knapp would have been so huge for having Mike LaFleur on the offensive side of the ball over here. Green Bean, your thoughts on a defensive coordinator coach maybe not liking their offensive coordinator and vice versa?
I don't know. I mean, well, with us, I think there was a pretty good rapport with everybody on the team. I'm not really sure. Is that happening here? I mean, I'm not sure where the relevance is. Is that?
I think he's just talking about like, there's
fans.
always a.
Okay.
That's a good way to think of it, Matt. I like that. Yeah. So Green Bean, I guess it's the fans feel that way.
It's fans. We should get okay. All right. Yeah, City Bird. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't think every situation is like that. I think the ones that are not working are like that, and that's why it's so shitty. Because we usually fall under that category. That's where we are. I think that having a defensive head coach and having a really good, strong offensive coordinator, it happens all the time. There's plenty of successful defensive head coaches out there. But I think the thing for us would be just to have somebody that's competent. And I think if there's competency, Robert Saleh's seemingly the kind of guy that will let you do it. He lets you run your own show. And I think if you have somebody that's competent, the fact that Saleh's defensive head coach, he doesn't even look to be tinkering with the defense. I think that it doesn't matter that he's defensive. I think if the offensive coordinator is just competent, we'll have a successful offense. I don't think Saleh will mess with it too much. But fans, it's a good point. I agree.
Blitz Crew says Chad Pennington as quarterback coach. Matt, your thoughts?
A better option than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, he was limited after the injuries, but definitely one of the smarter quarterbacks I think that I've ever seen play for the New York Jets.
He was a Rhodes Scholar. Of course, he was smart. Very, very smart. Mario Jets fan says, how about Nick Mangold for offensive line coach? Green Bean, your thoughts?
I know. Wouldn't that be the best? It's like, honestly, honest to God, I would be ecstatic if we could pull like these last two super chats. If we go out there and we get Chad as our quarterback coach and Nick Mangold as our offensive line coach. But let's remember.
Justin Crazy dropping $100 super chat.
Oh, whoa.
I'll let Green Bean finish and then I'll go over to it. Sorry, dude.
So, but we got to remember the other side. What happens when they suck at their jobs? Do we now hate people that we love? You know what I'm saying? So you got to remember that. It comes with that, guys. So I don't know.
Right? It's a little double-edged sword. It's like, I love Nick Mangold, but do I love Nick Mangold to coach? I don't know. I don't know if he can coach. I think that's fair. It's good to separate the player from the coach situation, because like Byron Leftwich, I didn't particularly like, but he's pretty decent as an offensive coordinator. Sort of the same thing with some like quarterback coaches. A lot of the best quarterback coaches were guys that were not starters. They were backups that bounced around from team to team. So I completely agree with you. Green Bean. Justin Crazy dropping a massive super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, if Robert does not pan out next year, who would be a guy you guys would like to have as a next head coach? John Harbaugh just went back to Michigan. I would throw the bag at Jim Harbaugh just went back to Michigan. I would throw the bag at Jim Harbaugh next offseason if Saleh does not work out. I would give Jim whatever he wants. If he wants GM, Douglas, I'm sorry, I love you, but you're out with the bathwater too, unfortunately. I would say Harbaugh would be the guy I would be kind of hitting the gas for, unless Sean Payton doesn't get hired this circuit around. Green Bean, your thoughts on the next prospective head coach if it doesn't work out with Robert Saleh here in New York?
Yeah, I would definitely like to see an offensive head coach. I know that, we've been defense largely for decades, right? We did have Rich Kotite and Adam Gase, and it just so happens that the two times that we went offense, we grabbed the dregs of the world. Both of them were just fired after terrible, stints with other teams. So I'd like to see us maybe get an offensive coach that looks like they're sharp. But I don't know. It's hard for me to think. I would probably like someone from the McVay tree, somebody coming out of that realm. Maybe like Mike LaFleur, I think. Somebody like that.
Matt, your thoughts. Who do you want for coach next year if Saleh doesn't work out?
Not Jim Harbaugh. I hate Jim Harbaugh. I think he's
I want a guy that can bring his own staff in, experienced, has success in the NFL, and knows all the college players that are coming out. That's Jim Harbaugh.
That's fair. How about let's get nuts. Let's go. There's rumors of him leaving all the time. What if Sean McVay's like, I'm done. This team is old and our window closed. I want a new venture.
Would you trade a first for him?
If they have a quarterback,
he wouldn't be able to trade for talent then because you gave up the first.
Yeah, but maybe you have Derek Carr lighten up the world or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think there's some popular names in college too. I know David Shaw is being projected as going to the NFL possibly at some point. Maybe you can poach Lincoln Riley away from USC. Throw all those big names out there. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going around, but I think for me, I like the guy in Harbaugh who it seems like Woody has just always had some sort of affection for, and you got to go big game hunting. Nothing would piss off Ross down in Miami more than the Jets getting Harbaugh and him missing out on it. Thank you so much, Justin. Andrew drops in and says, did you see? Oh, yeah, go.
I mean, the guy I wanted the last time, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but just to add to Justin's thing here, I really liked Matt Campbell from Iowa State. A lot of good players are coming out of Iowa State. I think that's where Brock Purdy came out of too, man. Like, he does it right. I know he chose to stay in college. He said he didn't want to be interviewed, and I get it. But if that happened, I would definitely go back there and take another swing at a guy like that, man. I think he is everything I like in a coach, and completely revamped Iowa State up there. And I think that he's the kind of guy that I would like.
Ooh, that would be an interesting one too. It'd be first time NFL coach. They've been trying to poach him forever. Andrew Yale drops in and says, did you see the Mangold gift days ago, offensive line coach? Yes, I did see that. We were just talking about would be awesome to have Mangold. Hopefully he works out as a coach the same way he worked out as a player. AZ Jet says, more value in Carr considering the draft picks that we get to keep. I completely agree. Derek Carr should absolutely be option one on everyone's list. The fact that you don't have to give up any draft picks, he's probably not going to cost as much as Lamar and, potentially Aaron Rodgers. I know Rodgers' cap hit is going to be pretty low. His might be the lowest of the cap hits based on his current contract if traded. But Carr, not giving up the draft picks 100% is the way I would want to go as well. Jonathan Moore, where'd you go? I dropped in. He goes, Urban Meyer for offensive coordinator. Yeah, that's the best thing we could possibly do. I'm on board. Yes, why not? Let's see. We got RJ McPott. Drops in, says, what are the timetables for our top two targets? Is it possible we miss out on Carr if we wait too long pursuing Lamar? Yes, 100%, RJ. The Jets, Derek Carr is going to be cut February 15th. Derek Carr will have a home before free agency, so you're going to want to sign Carr before then. I do think because of the way Lamar's contract is going to have to work, there's a real possibility that Lamar is traded earlier in the offseason, so that way teams can work their cap around him. I think that's something that could definitely pop up. And I would say maybe like Jimmy G and Lamar are probably the same time frame, possibly. If not, it's going to be Lamar closer to the draft, and then you're talking Rodgers after the draft, closer to June 1st. Those would be the timetable. The Carr would be the first one I'd go with. Matt, your thoughts on the timetable of our top targets?
Yeah, now, obviously, if Carr, I know that there's a chance that Carr might not end up being traded, but if he was, it would have to be like, what is it, 3 days after the Super Bowl? Is that window?
Yeah, it would have to be 3 days after the Super Bowl. I think it would be one of those like handshake agreements, like they would agree on his current contract. They would guarantee the $40 million, and then he would okay the trade. But basically,
Right.
Carr has to allow the trade to happen, and I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to want to test free agency.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Now, it might be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If he is cut in, whatever, after the 3 days after the Super Bowl, why would he be available right away and not on the start of free agency?
Because the start of free agency, that is when all contracts expire from the year prior. Because his contract, he has to be cut by the 15th. So his contract isn't going to have to expire because he was cut. So you could then pick him up at February 15th. I just assume you would be signing a contract for 2023 at that point. It wouldn't hit the 2022 cap at that point.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, but the timeline wise, yes, Carr would absolutely come first before Lamar, just based on the Lamar thing's going to play out for months and months and months and be so much drama.
RJ drops in with another super chat. This one's going to go to Green Bean. He says, Larry David claims he was banging on the table for Watson and Lamar. I only remember Watson. Any chance he says he wants Allen Richardson? Would he be right? I don't think the Jets should go after Richardson because I think, did I just say Allen Richardson? That's not what I meant. Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida. That's not the route I'd like to go. He's an interesting prospect. I think developing him would be a lot of fun. Maybe if there's a situation where you think you're going to get Rodgers and you want to bring in David Bakhtiari and you want to have him sit behind Rodgers for maybe 2 years. But I just don't think the Jets should touch him with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, I don't know. Watson and Lamar. Lamar was fascinating. I don't think you were going to take him in the top 5 based on the other quarterbacks that were there that year. And Watson, I guess with foresight now, maybe you probably don't make that move, but it would have been nice at the time considering the player. Green Bean, your thoughts on Richardson from Florida? You think maybe we make a move for him?
Well, is this Larry David from the Seinfeld Larry David?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. Number one, Watson was the quarterback I wanted that year. Just like you said, hindsight with all the affinity for massages and all those things, all that aside, I still think he would have been the smartest pick for us in that draft. So with that, but that was painful that we took Jamal Adams over him, in my book. That said, I would hate. What's that? What'd you say?
I said, or Mahomes.
Yeah, but Mahomes was scarier, man. He was, he was, you know what I mean?
He was the Texas Tech guy. He wasn't, a national champion. It was, I gotcha.
Right, there was a lot there. Andy Reid did a great job with Mahomes, and whoever, maybe he comes here and he's great. But I remember at the time, Mahomes was scary to me, and Watson was just looked like the next big thing. So I don't know. I think going back to the first round for a quarterback, especially one that, by and large, is somebody that needs to develop somewhat. He's very raw. I don't know, man. I don't think this organization has the stamina to do it. I don't think they have the balls to do it. And I think it's probably best that we don't right now. We need somebody that's already kind of has that foundation underneath them. We already know what we're getting. The floor, I think, is a better move. I think drafting him would be a crazy move.
Citybert drops in, says, Bart Scott said the Browns broke the line with the other owners by signing Deshaun to that contract. Woody won't do something like that. If true, we won't be giving Lamar an insane guarantee. The issue with NFL contracts, more so than other leagues, my understanding is the owner has to put all that money that you guarantee a player in escrow. So if you are guaranteeing $250 million, you need to have $250 million of your own in cash and put it on ice for the entirety of that contract. Like, that's what you have to do. So that's the issue that I think a lot of teams have with what the Browns did. It wouldn't shock me if Lamar Jackson got like a 2-year, $120 million fully guaranteed deal that stretches his cap hit out a little bit further. So that way you take advantage of the crazy upside that he has immediately right now. But I don't think he's going to get the 250 fully guaranteed deal for 5 years. I don't know if that's something that a team's going to wind up doing, especially if you have to factor in that deal plus the 2 first-round picks. I don't know. Matt, your thoughts on the Browns possibly breaking the line or crossing a line with the contract that was given to Deshaun Watson?
Oh, yeah. I think it was ridiculous, the contract that they gave to Deshaun Watson. They completely screwed over every single team in the league then after that. And this is for a guy who didn't play in over a year. And then who was going to get suspended. Everyone knew he was going to get suspended. So it was dumb. They gave up a lot for him, and then they gave him all this guaranteed money. It completely screwed everything over. But, I mean, he reset the market now. So that's what you have to, abide by. So you could thank the Cleveland Browns for that one.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns contract with Watson, and I'm saying, hey, Baltimore, I didn't molest 22 or 24 women or whatever it was. I have an MVP to my name. I want that contract plus $1. I'm sorry, there's no reason not to get it. Greenbean, talk to me about this. What do you think about the contract that the Browns gave Watson?
You're 100% right. Like, whether or not it's right or wrong, that's the way that the NFL works. That's the way it is. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Raiders did this years ago with Nnamdi Asomugha. So, like, we had Revis. His contract was fine, but then Nnamdi Asomugha signs for $16 million a year, which at the time, cornerbacks were getting like 10, something like that. So Revis, being better, held out because he wanted more than Nnamdi Asomugha. So this stuff definitely has an impact. And I think, just like Matt said, I mean, they definitely overpaid. It was an ill-advised move. And I think it's sad that the rest of the league now has to kind of function in response to that. I think everybody should just go, look, that was ridiculous. We're not even talking about it. Let's get back to reality. You know what I mean? But you're right. He's going to say, I want that plus $1. You're right.
Well, I think what you're going to have is have the owners collude, almost like with what happened with Kaepernick, because I absolutely think that's definitely what happened with him as well. But have them collude against these type of contracts in the future and the types of trades that were required to do it. I mean, the Browns screwed it all up. Deshaun Watson said, I'm not coming to the Browns. I'm going to Atlanta. And then the Browns were like, oh no, we pissed off Baker Mayfield. We have to make this right. Okay, okay, Watson, we'll give you fully guaranteed money. And now Watson's not performing the way he was after a year and a half off. Russell Wilson, the massive trade for him to get him in Denver, not working out how they thought. I think owners, GMs are going to look at those two trades in particular and say, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not throw away all our assets. Let's not hitch our wagon, for 4 years to an awful contract and potentially a quarterback that has not performed well. Like, for me, the Lamar Jackson thing is scary because of, 1, this contract, 2, the trade, but then we have not seen Lamar Jackson not under Greg Roman, not in a new scheme. We've seen Derek Carr under 4 different head coaches. I have more faith that Derek Carr is going to put up the same consistent numbers here than I do Lamar coming here in New York. I think that's the concern that everyone should absolutely be on with this.
That's a great
Justin
point,
Crazy. Let me get crazy. Justin Crazy dropping a $50 super chat. This dude has been awesome. Thank you, Justin. He says, what is the most likely offense for the Jets this year? Last super chat of the night. My girl is threatening to leave me. Justin, I love you. If your girl leaves you, I got you. No, it's cool. Okay. Most likely offense for the Jets. I want Darrell Bevell here. I want to run an offense that utilizes Breece Hall out of like everything we've got going on. Utilize Breece Hall, Bam Knight, Michael Carter. Then you work the play action with, Garrett, the tight ends, Elijah Moore. Get yourself a big body receiver. So I like Bevell as OC. He's been an offensive coordinator at 4 different stops. And then I would take someone like a senior offensive play caller. Maybe it's like Nathaniel Hackett. Maybe you don't fill that role until later on once you figure out if you can get Aaron Rodgers or get someone else in the building here. So for me, it's Bevel with a combination of someone older like a Nathaniel Hackett that could help attract a quarterback and maybe provide some insight into that room. Green Bean, your thoughts on what a Jets offense could look like next year?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's tough, right? We don't know who it is, but I'm with you, man. I think that point that you made about Lamar is a great point too. Remember, Greg Roman was the guy. He was my number one for our head coach interview. For some reason, I guess he just doesn't want to be one. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I think you just said it with Breece Hall and Michael Carter, who, by the way, didn't all of a sudden start to suck after the fumble. That was a LaFleur. I don't know what that was. We started handing the ball to him once or twice a game. Michael Carter is a very, very good back. And then we learned that Bam Knight is also a pretty damn good back. So having a stable like that, and whoever we keep, Ty Johnson, if we bring LaMichael Pirine back or something like that, I don't know who it's going to be. But the top three are studs. And having an offense that utilizes that is built off of that, could obviously free up a lot of what's going on with the passing game. So no matter what it is, I just want to see a quarterback that can hit the receivers we have. We have very good skill position guys. If not deep, up top, we're very, very good, but I think it should really go through the running game because we happen to have – this isn't 3 years ago with Trenton Cannon and Frank Gore. Like, we have studs, and I think it's time that we focus on the studs that we have, and let's get ourselves a real offense here.
I love it. Matt, your thoughts on what the Jets offense could look like next year?
Yeah, I agree that I think if you're going like most – likely, I think Bevel is probably the most likely candidate, it feels like. And I think they're still going to try to be a run-first team. I think that's going to be their identity. Now, that doesn't mean that, they're going to have Carr, Lamar, Rodgers, whatever veteran, pick a name out of a hat, throw the ball 25 times, and Breece Hall run it a million times. But I think they're going to try to have a balanced attack. And hopefully, what I would like to see is some more crossing routes or rub routes over the middle of the field. Is that too much to ask for? Get these guys, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, get them the ball in space and let them do their thing with the ball in their hands. But yeah, there's talent here. Obviously, they just got to find a quarterback and fix the O-line a little bit.
I love it. Dante is up. Dante says, I think we should strap all the Zach Wilson truthers to a chair and make them watch a week's worth of Zach Wilson most terrible plays, which is a lot. They are the part of the fan base I despise. I don't want to despise any of the Zach Wilson truthers because I was one of them at one point. I was like, just give the guy some time. And then this whole year played out. And then I was like, well, all right. You know what? I think Zach Wilson, like Green Bean said earlier today, anything you get out of him is gravy at this point. You don't bank anything into him as far as is he going to be our future quarterback, but I think you try to develop him over the course of this next year or two while you have a veteran in front of him. And if your veteran winds up getting hurt and you have to go back to Zach, I don't want to say it's all right, but it's kind of okay. You just hold on to him. I want to see Zach work out. Green Bean, any thoughts on the Zach Wilson truthers out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's one of them in the chat who continually asks me to unban him. But he's literally
who is that what I saw in there?
Yeah, that guy. But he's in here doing exactly what I banned him for. He's talking about the Derek Carr below 7 degrees thing, like just
I've got that queued up over here. I can't wait to talk about BYU fans in here. I got the little super chat coming. It's coming up. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Good. But I think look, Zach Wilson. There's nothing wrong with believing in your quarterback. This is one of the things that I had an issue with. Like I was, like we've talked about on here, I was concerned early, but it's not like I wanted to see him fail, and I certainly wanted to give him time. We got to a point where he looked like he was completely inept, like he had regressed to a point where there was almost nothing there. So I think, look, guys that are Zach Wilson truthers, good for you. I'm glad that you're supportive. I just don't like when they're completely closed off to the idea that maybe he's not playing well. It's like, no, he needs more passing plays, or that's the stuff I think people got to get a little bit of a grip on. Other than that, hey man, ain't nothing wrong with rooting for your guy.
Ooh, Matt, any thoughts on the Zach Wilson truthers being out there?
They want to believe in their guy, and look, I was with you. I thought I wanted to see 2 years of Zach Wilson before you make a decision, and the 2 years wasn't good enough for him to be a starter in year 3. Now maybe you bring in Rodgers for a year, you sit Zach down, and he could figure it out beyond that. I think that's the most realistic, optimistic view you could have on Zach, but I don't know how you could see what you saw for 20-ish games, 21, and be like, yeah, let's try that again with no veteran in here with a playoff mandate.
Yeah. Let's just run it back with Zach. That sounds like a great move. Let me pull this up real quick. I'm going to jump some lines here because we were just talking about it. BYU fan says Carr is 0-6 on the road. He's actually 0-7 on the road, believe it or not. He says 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 57% completion percentage. So Derek Carr's stats on average are a touchdown a game in sub 36-degree weather, and he's thrown over 220 yards once. Now, that being said, I want to remind you guys that Zach Wilson beat the number 1 seed Buffalo Bills at the time with 150 passing yards and 1 touchdown without Breece Hall, without AVT, in perfect weather. So if you're asking me if I would take Derek Carr's stats in cold weather and I'm going to get 1 touchdown and, call it 200 yards through the air, I'm all about it because that's a game I'm sticking Breece Hall out there for. I don't care if my quarterback throws for a ton of yards in a cold game. Get out of here. I'm all about, I'm all about Derek Carr. Green Bean, any thoughts? Or actually, let me throw this one to Matt. Matt, any thoughts on the the cold weather stuff with Carr?
Yeah, and I know Green Bean's itching to get it and on it too. I think we all want to get our shots in here. But I'm not very well, I'm not a math guy and never claimed to be a science guy either. But let's think for a second here. If you live in a warm weather place like California or Las Vegas, and then go to a place that's extremely cold, so 37 degrees or lower, that's just about freezing temperatures, 32. That's going to be drastically different. But if you were to move or migrate, let's use a science term, migrate to a new location where it's a little bit colder, don't you think that over time your body will adjust to it and that it's not going to feel as cold to you? I don't know. Put on another long sleeve shirt too, maybe. I don't know. Let's just try to think these things through.
My parents moved from the Northeast down to Florida, and now they come back up here and they say it's cold. When they go down there, originally they're like, "Oh, it's too hot. We can never move down there." So I completely agree with Matt.
To it.
Yeah, I know,
get used to your surrounding. Yeah,
absolutely. Green Bean, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we call that your blood thins out. That's like the term that everybody uses. You get thinner blood. Now, I doubt that's scientifically accurate, but that's what they say. Yeah, it happened to me, dude. I'm a cold weather guy. I grew up here scraping windshields my whole life. And then I went to Florida for a year. I came back. It was 50 degrees, and I was literally physically shivering. It happens. But let's just, aside from all that, which it's all accurate, you realize that we're pulling out 0-7 over a 9-year career. So he's lost 7 games in 9 years. That's the thing that I want to put out front and be concerned about. So what? Let's say he never wins a game. He's played 7 of them in 9 years. We played, I think, 1 this year. So what? That's the game we lose each year. Who cares? You know what I mean? I'll take 65% completion percentage, 4,000 yards, and 2-to-1 touchdowns to interceptions every day of the week, and he can have the 35 and under loss.
Steven, this was the other one. I want to go in there. Give at BYU fan the ejector seat. Love the show. Go Jets. Thank you, 7 levels. All right, up next, we got Jason Edwards. Jason drops in saying, experienced offensive coordinator first. Derek Carr after February 15th. Second and first round, stud tackle in the draft. We will go. First. I got it. First is an experienced offensive coordinator with Derek Carr by 215. Second, you want to get a first round stud tackle in the draft. We will go deep into the playoffs. Yeah, I would like to get one of those tackles. And Matt, I did do my research on the tackles, and I think they are perfectly ordered as is right now. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐿, Paris, and then Broderick from Georgia. I think those would be the top 3. My concern is the Texans. If there's a situation where the Texans and the Bears trade and the Bears drop back one pick, the Texans give up their 12th overall pick. Now the Bears select their D end or whatever they want to get at number 2, and they select the offensive tackle at 12, just ahead of the Jets. I do think one of the 3 will be there for us, but I do think right where we're sitting, everyone's going to know there's going to be a red alert that the Jets are going for a tackle here. So I think we're going to have to worry about teams trading out in front of us. The Patriots are 1 pick behind us. The Titans are 2 picks in front of us. That's another concern. If the Patriots wind up losing Wynn this offseason, they could jump in front with Vrabel. I think that's a concern. But yeah, look, Derek Carr and a tackle in the draft, sign me up all damn day. Matt, your thoughts on Carr plus a tackle in round 1?
That was in my plan for my offseason, so that sounds pretty good to me.
Greenbeard, your thoughts?
Let's see, Frederick Carr, second if he has a stud tackle. Yeah, that's what we got to do. That's what I want to do. I'll tell you what, though. Let me say this. Number 1, hello, Jason Edwards. Good dude, Jason Edwards. Always has good takes, constructive. I find Jason to be very constructive, good conversation. You know what I mean?
This is a good one.
Yeah, it is. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you. Now, I don't know if we'll do this, but I would be totally okay if the Jets used the first-round pick to get a tackle, then used the second-round pick to get, like, arguably it could be the best or second-best center in the entire draft, and then, like, in the 4th or 5th, we take another, like we take an interior guard, somebody that needs a year or whatever. I would be totally happy with that. Now, Joe Douglas has done that twice, right? I think he did it. He did it in his first year. He took Becton and Cam Clark in the 4th, and maybe not AVT. No, I guess only one time. So he's done it one time with taking 2 offensive linemen in the draft, in the same draft. But I would be totally happy if we added that to it too, man. Let's get this offensive line thing done. Like, we got to prepare for those injuries, man. And, having Max Mitchell and Becton come back in AVT, and we add a stud, first-round tackle and a second-round center, and we got fucking 3 guards backing them up, all fresh and young. I think that would be a refreshing change too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at that center position. That's really exciting. Right now, let's see, the top center that's supposed to be coming out is John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. You got Luke Weipler from Ohio State, Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas. Those are the top 3 that are listed right now in front of me. I actually really like Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas. He's a 4-year starter, can play guard and center. I think if you bring in someone like him and re-sign McGovern for a year, I think it allows you an opportunity. If a tackle goes down, AVT bumps out and you move Stromberg over to guard. Or if Tomlinson sucks and you have your tackles healthy, maybe you swap out Tomlinson for Stromberg and have him play next to McGovern while he kind of learns everything there. But I love the idea of getting a center in this draft, whether it be the 2nd or 3rd round. I know we've talked about it before. If the Jets wanted to go tackle, guard, center for the first 3 rounds, I'd be all right with that too. Yeah. just peachy. Mudfiles drops in. What's up, dude? Good to see you in here. He says, evening, gentlemen. Who would you guys want us to throw everything for? Me, I want us to trade for Lamar and D-Hop. Am I crazy for wanting a Super Bowl or bust? You're not crazy, Mudfiles. Well, I want a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. Lamar is an option, and it's one I'll get behind if Joe Douglas makes the move because of his connections in Baltimore. I think that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But at the same time, I consider Baltimore a really smart organization, and them not signing Lamar is concerning to me. I do like them going the non-exclusive franchise tag route where you can kind of test him, engage him. As far as DeAndre Hopkins goes, I like D-Hop. I think more than likely the Cardinals are going to try and tank next year with Kyler Murray probably not playing a large portion of the year with the torn ACL. I think they are squarely in play for Sean Payton in that respect then, and I think they bottom out and would look for picks in 2024 so they could trade up to get Caleb Williams, the kid from USC that Payton seems to be smitten with right now. So for me, D-Hop, I think, is a conditional 2024 pick. I wouldn't mind doing it, but I don't know if you make that move in conjunction with Lamar. I like Matt's approach in going after Lazard from from Green Bay, but I guess it depends if he wants to follow Rodgers to his next stop or where that kind of goes. Matt, your thoughts on Lamar plus D-Hop, and who would be your throw everything at this guy?
Well, that is definitely going all in with Lamar and adding D-Hop. I don't know how you're going to make that all fit under the cap. I feel like that's going to be incredibly difficult to do. Mm-hmm. You're not crazy for wanting the Super Bowl or bust. I would just be worried then. What is your plan to fix the offensive line, linebacker, and safeties if you're throwing what cap hit wise? What is that, like $60 million between those two, probably?
At least, yeah. I mean, you're talking maybe on a long-term deal, Lamar's 40 or 45 million the first few years as it starts to escalate, and then D-Hop. I mean, even if you trade for his contract right now, I think it's like $19 million a year. He just doesn't have guaranteed money left.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be mad at it. I'd be like, oh, cool. Like, this has the chance to be really fun, but I would be curious how they fill out the rest of the roster.
Green Bean, Lamar, and D-Hop, you in?
Yeah, well, Matt just said his last sentence is exactly it. Like, am I going to be mad if they went out there and got Lamar Jackson and Hopkins? No, but again, I have a lot of concerns. And would that be the way that I went? Probably not. You got guys, I mean, collectively, they've probably missed, 20-something games over the past year and a half. It's like, that's not a good look. We got suspensions, we got injuries, we got all this sort of stuff, and they're super crazy expensive. So, again, I'd be happy. Let Joe Douglas figure it out, right? Figure out the money. Just get me fun guys. Having Garrett Wilson and Hopkins with Elijah Moore underneath, I mean, shit. Breece Hall, that'd be fantastic. But, again, I don't think we can afford it. I don't know if that's real.
The cap's fake anyway. That's what I've learned. Justin Crazy, Thank you for the $1 super chat. John drops in. John says, would have been nice for Zach to work out, but can't remember a better year to be in the veteran quarterback market in recent years. A lot of options out there. It's not even just the veteran quarterback market. It's nice to have a team that veteran quarterbacks may want to come to. I think that's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And not having Adam Gase here and having Robert Saleh, I think that's an attractive thing as well. We've seen players want to play for Robert Saleh from across the league, so I really like this as well. I completely agree, John. Green Bean, you agree? Nice to need a quarterback in this market?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, the last few years have been interesting, right? Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson. It's like there's lots of big name guys kind of flip flopping around. It's more than we've seen in a very, very long time. I think we have some opportunities. I think that's there's a lot out there. Now, whether or not we can pull it off or pull it together, we'll see. But it is nice to have more than like a couple, like Minshew being at the top of the list. You know what I mean? That would be a bummer.
Let's see. Who we got? We got Jinpak. Jinpak says, what do you think Saleh's vision for our Jets offense is? I think him being a defensive coordinator, he's going to lean towards ball control and allow his defense to kind of dictate the game. So I would say conservative, time management, and eating up the clock, run the ball with Breece Hall. I think that's why they drafted him this past year. Matt, your thoughts on what Saleh's vision for the Jets offense is?
Yeah, I think they're going to want to be a team that runs first and builds off the play action. Like kind of like what I was saying earlier. I don't think they're going to throw the ball only, 20 times a game and run it, Breece Hall 25 times or something crazy like that. But I think that's going to be their bread and butter. I think there's, room for that in the NFL, and I think that's the direction they're going to try to go.
Green Bean, what do you think Saleh's vision of the offense is?
Well, I think it was to have Mike LaFleur as a part of it. I don't know. To change his mind a little bit. But I think I'm with Matt. I think, clearly they want to establish a running game. They used a pick on Michael Carter in 2021, and they traded up for Breece Hall last year, I think. And, obviously when he went down, we also traded for Robinson. But there's a focus on that running game. Like, we wanted to upgrade it from what we had around here. We had some guys that could do a little this, little that, but now we have guys that if we have the rest of the team, like, for example, an offensive line that could get a little push, I think that our backs are, they have the potential to be stellar. So I think that's pretty clear that the Robert Saleh regime, they wanted to put a focus on the running game, and I think that's what we'll try to do moving forward.
Seven Levels says, eject Jets forever too. Thanks. I moved my thing, so I don't think I have the chicken.
The chicken
across the screen. Yeah, I usually have the chicken. I unplugged the hard drive that I have it in, so the file can't be found while I'm doing it right now. So I got to fix that. I will get it straightened out though. Don't you worry. Tony Alexio says we want Monken to fix Zach. I do like Monken. He also dropped in and said trade Zach for picks to Carolina. Yeah, I don't think you're trading Zach for anything right now. Our buddy Asman's in here. What's up, Jake?
Hey.
Let me pull that up real quick. What's up, Jake? We'll get you on here in the next week or so. Jake drops in and says, it's truly an honor to watch greatness on my screen every week. You three are legends. Asman, you are a legend.
Him too.
Yourself. You're beautiful. Yeah. We'll bring you on. Shoot me a text. Funny story. I texted Asman this past week, and I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was going through like different channels, and I just found out that I was not subscribed to Jake Asman. I was like, Jake, you just broke 25,000 subs. I was like, you have finally earned my subscription click. I was like, I don't know what I was like, I'm shocked I'm not subscribed. I get all your videos. But I guess it's just YouTube's algorithm feeding it instead of the subscription. I don't know. It was funny, though.
Yeah, Jake's going to be hanging out with us on the Thursday Thick of It this week.
Ooh, that's fun. I like
some
that.
Quality Jake time. Yeah, man. I'm psyched.
I love it. Jake's a good dude. The Milton Fung drops in with a super chat. Then I'll go back to Sam Aiken. Give me just a second. Any concerns with Carr's subpar season this year? I know Waller and Renfro were banged up, but they always are, especially considering they had Devontae Adams and Jacobs. My understanding from a close friend of mine that is a very avid Raider fan, I would call him similar in knowledge that I have for the Jets, for the Raiders, for him. He was telling me back in October that it felt like McDaniels was trying to submarine Carr all season. I mean, you lose 3 games by 17 or more points. You lose multiple comebacks. Like, these are not on Derek Carr. I know he had a little bit of a subpar season, but I think they were trying to scapegoat Carr so that way they could move on from him without the fan base getting riled up, the same way that McVay went into Denver and pissed all over everyone's Cheerios and got Cutler sent out. He was like, oh, no, I'm going to do this a different way. We're going to give Carr the extension with the 1 year out, so that way we can be done with his ass after this year. I think that's the route they went because they didn't want him, or at least he didn't want him. So I'm not concerned with Carr's subpar season because it's still better than anything we've had. Yeah. Green Bean, you concerned with Carr's season at all?
Well, not in the slightest, man. I mean, you think about it, dude. This is a subpar season, and he was benched for the last 2 games, and he still came out with 3,500 yards, just about a 61% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, and 14 picks. I mean, that's literally – if any of our quarterbacks had that, we would be talking about they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And that's his bad season. I'm not concerned in the slightest. That's really interesting what your Raiders fan friend is saying. I have a friend who's also a Raiders fan. He's kind of Raider-esque fan, but he said that the going thought is that McDaniels, right when he got there, was gonna find a way to get rid of Carr. And it's it's what he did.
There's a video. It's by Wi-Fi Willie. He's a Raiders YouTuber. I have it in the description of my Derek Carr video, and I brought it up in the Derek Carr video itself. He does a great job painting the picture that I am trying to convey right here, and he does it really, really well. Like, Raiders fans are, like, they still like Carr a lot. The ones that have been paying attention to it, like, just weird, fluky things that were happening, like, even down to the contract extension. They're like, they knew it wasn't going to be a thing, and they kind of dropped hints throughout the whole way, and you sort of saw in different press clippings and video clips of Derek Carr saying, oh, there's something in the locker room. We kind of have to get figured out. We're all working. Like, there's these weird things that were kind of dropped throughout the season. Kind of, I would say, not unlike the weird chirps we heard about Zach Wilson, where it was like, okay, you heard a little bit of like maybe him not developing in the offseason. You heard a little bit of Garrett Wilson saying, oh, I like the way, Flacco throws the ball or whatever. And you hear Elijah Moore getting a little frustrated, Denzel Mims maybe not getting the playing time. And it's like all these little things start to add up and compound. And that's sort of what happened with the Derek Carr thing. So I highly recommend you look it up. It's a really, really good video that kind of paints that picture there. Sam Aiken comes in, says, Carr is a young 31. Why are people talking like he is a scrub? I don't understand how you could look at Derek Carr and not want him. If he completed the final 2 games of this season, which he would have because he's healthy, and he only threw for his career average yards per game, 250 yards per game, he would have eclipsed the 4,000 yard mark again, and he would own 8 of our top 9 passing seasons in our franchise's history. Anyone who doesn't want Derek Carr needs to be shown the door right now.
Yeah, well, look, to second that, when you talk to people that say, oh, Carr's not the answer, it's going on all in the chat, right? Carr's not it. The arguments that they bring forward are 7 games in 9 years about cold weather. It's like these are the arguments. I mean, it's crazy to me. Again, is he perfect? Is he everything I'd like? No, I don't like some of his just the way he kind of interacts with the team. There's some things there that rub me a little bit. But dude, come on, man. Like you said, if he just played average football, his average, he would have eclipsed the 4,000 yard mark for, I think it's the 5th time in 9 years, and 2 of those other seasons he had 3,900 yards. Like, we've never had a quarterback like Derek Carr. Oh, by the way, he plays every game every year. Mm-hmm. He only misses a game every 3 years or something like that. So
consistency. That was the term that Joe Douglas used. Consistency. What is more consistent than 142 out of 144 games?
Think about that. Isn't that nuts? Like, what is it? What is it that we don't like? I don't understand.
Jet fans just, we can't have nice things. You'd rather it's that whole thing with Family Guy, right? Where they go into the timeshare thing and they say, hey, Peter Griffin, you guys could have a boat or you could take the mystery box. Well, for the Jets, it's you could have the quarterback in Derek Carr or you could have the mystery box. This wonderful thing over here. It could be a draft pick. It could be trading for Lamar Jackson. It could be, a new offensive scheme for Lamar Jackson that he's never been in before and a new location. Maybe there's, what happens when he gets paid all this money? Does he wind up taking his foot off the gas? I know what happens when Derek Carr gets paid, and I know how consistency works. Matt, anything to add to this?
I don't know. I'm gonna say the cold weather, and then I've seen like the bad fundamentals, bad footwork, all that stuff. Which I don't know if he's a pocket passer. That's what he is. Mm-hmm. He's gonna sit in the pocket. He's gonna throw the ball 30 times, complete 63% of his passes. He'll throw 25 touchdowns and 10 picks. He'll be fine. Will he ever be a star? No. Will he ever be an abysmal bottom 5 quarterback like what we've had pretty much every single year of our goddamn lives?
No.
No, he will not.
No,
he will
He's
not.
He's going to be okay. He'll be somewhere between 12 and 16. I think the Jets will be okay with like the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, or 16th best quarterback in the league.
We were talking about having below average quarterback play would get us into the playoffs. Like not like 34th ranked quarterback play like we dealt with. We're getting top 12 to like 10 to 15 if you bring in Derek Carr. I'm all on board with it. Glad you guys are too. Soreless76 says, bet the Cowboys feel like clowns after letting Greg the Leg walk after last night. Let's get a real punter next season. Special teams come back next season. Yeah, we need a punter. You got to get rid of Braden Mann at this point. I think it's that experiment's over. I love Greg the Leg. I don't know what his percentage wound up working out this year, but I think based on the kicks that he had and the strength of his leg and everything, I 100% am on board with bringing him back on a 1 year, $2 million contract. Same thing he got paid this past year. And yeah, Dallas missing four extra points in a row before hitting the 5th one. I saw a meme on Reddit and it was, what the hell was it? Oh, it was like the 9/11 thing where the guy's whispering into George Bush's ear and it says, another kick has gone wide right or something like that. Like a third kick has gone wide right. And the first thing in the comments was like, holy shit, a fourth one did too. It was like they made the meme because it was so outlandish that you had 3 kicks go, wide on extra points that they have, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I like Greg the Leg. I want a new punter. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because he clearly shows at times like just top tier talent, but the inconsistency, it's kind of the word of the day for us, right? Like that's always our problem. We have guys that look good for a second and then they collapse. But I'll tell you what, Greg the Leg, it's really nice when you have a 57-yarder that you actually believe your kicker can make it. Like that's new for us, man. Usually, even when we had Folk, as accurate as he was, Myers too, I think it was like anything over 50, it was like 50, like it was a 50-50 shot of not hitting it. Now, Greg the Leg, he gave us our first ever 60-yard field goal. He hit a couple 55 plus, but I think they should give him 2-3 years. Like, just why do we got to deal with this every year? You found him. He's good.
It's because he's like 36. He's an older guy, 38 maybe or whatever. He's an older kicker. Franchise tag. Get him.
Yeah.
The NY Bully drops in. Thanks, dude. He says, what about Mike Kafka did for Daniel Jones? What Kafka did for Daniel Jones is impressive. What Ben Johnson did to revitalize Goff is unbelievable. We need a proven offensive coordinator who can come in and immediately imprint his philosophy on our offense. I really like Mike Kafka. I had Mike Kafka as our offensive coordinator in my mock offseason the year we were firing Gase. And I had him with Brian Daboll too. With actually, I don't know if I had Jim Leonard or the D coordinator from the Lions as well. But either way, I really like Kafka. He was the one that was put in charge of developing Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. The 1-game trial that we had of Mahomes when Alex Smith sat, that game plan was designed by Mike Kafka, and Bieniemy was focused on Alex Smith with Andy Reid and all that good stuff. And then I would say I don't trust what Kafka did with Jones so much just because of the type of quarterback Jones is and the type of offensive coordinator I know Daboll was. Like Daboll very clearly wants Josh Allen light in Daniel Jones, and I think it's fantastic. If he hits the open market, I would pay Daniel Jones and I would bring him here, no questions asked. But he's not leaving the Giants. Goff had an incredible season. I completely agree. If you can get someone like Kafka, someone like Goff, not like Goff, like Ben Johnson, that could really revitalize your quarterback room and get some production here. The best thing for me about firing Mike LaFleur is the found talent that we're going to stumble into possibly. Like that, that's the upside. It's the hidden upside that not a lot of people are talking about. You're talking about guys, Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, Mekhi Becton, Zach Wilson. These are all guys that were not able to fully take advantage of the offense. Throw in Laken Tomlinson in there. Who knows? Maybe because of everything going on, maybe we reclaim him and we get some extra production out of him next year with a new offensive coordinator. The Jets are going to get players back, almost like the same thing we saw on the defensive side of the ball this past year. We lost Carl Lawson. We lost Vinny Curry. You lose Joyner. You lose, whatever we lost last year on the defensive line. We got them back this year without having to spend any additional money. That's how I look at the offense next year, getting a new offensive coordinator. Matt, your thoughts on an offense coordinator that could imprint his philosophy and your thoughts on the job Kafka and Johnson have done.
Yeah, I think, both those guys that you listed off are really good quarterback coaches. And I think, there's obviously a talent there. And I like having, or I like thinking of rather, a guy who can come in and implement his philosophy and have it take over. I think with LaFleur, while I liked his upside, it was kind of like a carbon copy of what was going on in San Francisco, where the Jets are casting a wide net and it doesn't necessarily have to be that same style, that same kind of system. We could see, someone like Monken. Monken's more of an air raid guy. He's not someone who's going to really come in and, run the ball or run these West Coast schemes. I saw someone in the chat before talking about, oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? He was the Bucks head coach when Monken was the OC. Dirk Cutter. same kind of thing. I don't know. I'm optimistic, kind of like you said, of seeing what some of these guys on the roster could look like in a new scheme or system.
Green Bean, your thoughts on an offensive coordinator and the job that Kafka and Ben Johnson have done with their respective units?
Yeah, well, just like you, Ryan, Kafka was the guy that I wanted for our offensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator that I wanted was one of two guys. I wanted Aaron Glenn or Chris Richard. Like, those were the guys that I was leaning on. But Kafka, man, I mean, he's the guy who's been working with Mahomes. I think he's doing a fantastic job. No, obviously Dable has something to do with that, but Dable's the head coach. You know, he's running everything. And I think, you know, having a guy like Kafka that you can kind of know and feel confident in, you know, he's very competent. I think he's a fantastic hire, and I think he's doing a great job. I'm very envious, honestly. I really am. Now, as far as our offensive coordinator, yeah, I mean, just like you said, I think that's one of the real positives. For whatever reason, when LaFleur and Saleh and those guys came here, players just kind of seem to find themselves in the doghouse for no reason, right? Like, it's weird. It was very weird. And we've seen that throughout the last 2 years. Again, this year we had the Elijah Moore thing, right? I still don't agree with how he handled it. And I'll never think that he handled that right. At the same time, he's still very talented. And for whatever reason, we can't figure out how to use him. And then there's the Michael Carter thing. Like, Michael Carter, he's a fantastic back. He's not Brees, but he's a very, very good back. He fumbles in Buffalo. And it was as if they were punishing him or something, like literally 2 carries a game. Like, I don't understand. And I think that's one of the things that maybe, like you said, could be a really nice secret positive of getting somebody in here who's done this before, who knows how to evaluate talent, knows damn well we have talent on the team, and all we got to do is find out how to use them, not need specific players to work in my system.
I completely agree. Bradley drops in. Bradley says, people need to understand we won't be getting a top pick to draft a quarterback for a while, and an elite quarterback is a commodity, not necessarily needed in our offense. I don't want to frame this quarterback search by what our current offense is right now, because the quarterback very likely is going to outlast the coaching staff if it doesn't work out. So for me, yes, elite quarterback, 100% what you want to try and go after, regardless of coaching scheme. I would like a scheme that is wrapped around our talent on the team, not a specific thing. For me, I don't know. I don't want to draft a quarterback. I think we've gone that route. I think the dynamic of New York in general and the pressure that comes with being an early pick in New York, and the, he's got to save the city, he's got to save the franchise. Like, that's why you need a veteran in place. That's why you have an Alex Smith and you trade up for a Mahomes and you let him sit. That's why you have like these other situations, and the Jets never seem to do it because we're so, glossy-eyed for this brand new quarterback. We just want to see him play. And look, I was one of them. I wanted to see Zach Wilson play. In hindsight, we should have had someone, sit him for a little bit. I don't know. Matt, your thoughts on getting an elite quarterback may not be necessary with the type of offense we're thinking about running.
I guess, but it would help. I mean, it makes everything easier now, having an elite quarterback. It's really all about the money that you'd have to pay, how that affects the rest of the roster, what you would have to give up draft capital wise. Like, those are all the things that you could kind of lay out there. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that if you were to land, like, let's use Carr as an example, because that's the one that comes up the most. I feel like he's probably someone you could plug in and have be the guy for like a nice 5-year window. So I kind of get where Bradley's coming from here, and that'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it, to have the position figured out and just get some level of consistency? Or, hey, swing big for Lamar and it works, then that also makes life hell of a lot easier too.
Green Bean, your thoughts? An elite quarterback is a commodity, not necessarily needed in this offense.
Well, I think we could have said that with when we had an offense. I mean, we don't have an offense anymore, so we don't know. Maybe the new offense is predicated on elite quarterback play. We don't know. The previous offense, I think it's a fantastic point. I mean, we were literally average quarterback play away from winning at least 2-3 more of our games, and we would have been in the playoffs with average quarterback play. Like Matt said earlier, we have bottom 2 or 3 quarterback play, man. Like we're way down there. We're not even in, the middle of the pack. We have the worst quarterback play. So I think, I think it's going to be a positive no matter what offense, like the better quarterback play you get. But I think generally speaking, with a defense like we have, and if you have a good running game, all you need is a quarterback that's less likely to make boneheaded mistakes and won't lose the game for you. On top of that, all he needs to do is get the ball to the playmakers. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Brees Hall, dude, they can make people miss all day long. Just get the ball into their hands, nice and clean, no stress, no fuss, no muss. I think if we do that, we got our guy.
Next up, we got How About Them Jets? Says, draft Brian Breesy, defensive tackle, and trade Quinnen for a first-round pick. No. The only way I would move Quinnen Williams is to get a quarterback. That is the only way I would do it, and I would not trade Quinnen for Aaron Rodgers. I would only trade Quinnen for Lamar if it helped us keep, an additional, say, first and a third or something along those lines. I think it's important to hold on to your own, and I think paying Quinnen is really, really important. Jake Asman, I'm going to get to your super chat in just a second, but because How About Them Jets brought it up, I want to talk about Quinnen real quickly here because I had this as a potential topic. Potential hurdle with a Quinnen Williams contract. As I've mentioned before, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are going to have their backs against the wall. As much as I want them to re-sign Quinnen Williams, there is a legit possibility they decide not to, or at least wait longer into the training camp season and allow this to be a little bit more of a holdout. And kind of call Quinnen's bluff. And that's because we are going to need as much salary cap space as possible, potentially, to re-sign our own free agents, bring in new free agents. And I think if Douglas has his back against the wall, there is a real possibility that he may not re-sign a player that he did not draft. And I think there's a real possibility he may trade that player, to acquire the quarterback. Now, I do think Saleh, I do think Douglas ultimately want Quinnen Williams here long term. And if Zach had worked out, they'd be getting the Quinnen Williams contract done easily. No questions asked. I think just because of the situation that we are currently in with the backs against the wall of those two particular guys and the missing piece of quarterback, I think that's why there could be a little bit of a hang up in the Quinnen Williams contract. Greenbean, I want to get your thoughts on this.
I totally get what you're saying. I really do. That said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is an opportunity. This is much bigger than just re-signing a player, in my opinion. I think it's a really great opportunity to show the team that if you work, you put your nose to the grindstone, you don't come out and fucking be an asshole, and you just get better every year, do your job. I think if you do that, you can get rewarded here. And I think who better to pay than Quinnen Williams? He's a sweetheart. Everybody loves him. He's dominant. The one game he wasn't there, the defense looked completely different. And he's becoming like a really positive leader. And I think this is an opportunity right now. And if you fuck with Quinnen Williams and drag him through it and make him hold out, I think it's going to send vibrations through the team that we just don't want, man. And I think it's an opportunity that they won't let slip away. They're going to sign him.
Matt, your thoughts on the Quinnen Williams contract?
I think Greenbean said it perfectly, to be honest with you. I think it's set an example to the rest of the team. Use him as a positive example. He took that step forward, an all-pro this year. You did everything you could possibly ask for out of the guy, a leader on this team, everything you want. I think you do it and you figure out the rest. I don't think it's going to have a drastic enough impact on the cap this year for it to be even remotely close to an issue if I'm Joe Douglas.
I think there's some other things to look into with this as well. And I don't want this to come off as me not wanting to sign Quinnen. I'm playing devil's advocate here and trying to look at the whole process here. The other side of this is we have a ton of first round picks coming up. You're talking between AVT, Sauce, Garrett Wilson, JJ, and then not even talking about Elijah Moore and Breece Hall and like some of the second round pick guys that are going to be coming up for contracts. And if you negotiate with Quinnen Williams a year before his 5th year option, you're now planning to negotiate 1 year earlier with every single one of those players, which is probably a good thing to have done anyway. And I do agree with you guys. I think showing the team that if you play well for us, you will get rewarded, as opposed to all the years that we've had prior where, oh, we have our guys that did well. Well, we're going to let them walk. Or we're going to trade them away. And we're going to give all the money to the guys that are free agents from other teams that had success with other franchises. So I'm with you guys. I see some things that maybe might cause some hiccups in the Quinnen stuff. All right. Enough of that. You guys can yell at me in the chat all you want. Jake Asman, our good old buddy, drops in. He says, how come Mike LaFleur doesn't have a job yet? Robert Saleh said everybody and their mother wanted to hire him. Did Bob Saleh lie to us? Did he? Look, everybody and their mother. That's what Zach Wilson. That's a Zach Wilson line. He's looking for everyone's mother, right? No, okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Mike LaFleur, why doesn't he have a job? Because it was the way to gloss over the issues that they had. You know, Saleh's not going to come out and say, Zach Wilson sucks. Mike LaFleur, sucks. He's not going to say either one of those. I think it was let's get out of this press conference, move on to the next thing. They're not going to ask any more Mike LaFleur questions once we get out of this. I do think he winds up landing on his feet. I think there's a situation where you see him maybe wind up back in San Francisco. I mean, honestly, you can see him wind up where any of those San Francisco type guys are. Maybe he's back. Maybe he goes with his brother to Green Bay. Maybe he goes down to Miami and, decides to spite us. Who knows? Greenbean, your thoughts on why Mike LaFleur does not have a job yet?
That's funny because somebody told me that he was getting hired by McVay. So I was okay, well, that's where he's going. I don't know. But, it gives you the impression that maybe, just maybe, it was a soft way of saying we fired him. Maybe that's what they were really saying. But I don't know. I think LaFleur will find a job ultimately. But again, it doesn't look like they made it sound like they had teams knocking on our door. Hey, maybe they're just in contract negotiations. Maybe LaFleur's holding out for more money with the new team. Maybe that's
he couldn't meet in person until today, right? Like you weren't allowed to meet with interviewees until who knows? Maybe there's some more stuff going on here. Matt, what do you think? LaFleur got people lining up for him?
I think he's going to end up with the Rams. I do think maybe not as a OC, but maybe he ends up there as the OC. I think he's someone who could probably go back to being like an assistant, as in like a passing game coordinator or some sort of positional coach, and then get another crack at OC. I think there's upside there, but clearly could use some work.
Craig drops in. Craig says, do you guys put much stock into getting our next Broadway Joe, a quarterback that can retire a Hall of Famer? To me, a Lamar White signing gives us that long-term chance. White, like Mike White? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying Lamar plus Mike White behind him? No, there's no situation where I want Lamar and Mike White. I want someone who can not have to change the offense. Like if I have Lamar Jackson, I'm going after someone like a Marcus Mariota or someone like I don't know. For me, I get the gut feeling that Lamar wants to go to Atlanta. I think playing with Kyle Pitts is very intriguing from a tight end perspective. I think that division is absolutely abysmal, and I think he can dominate it for the next however many years. At least if he comes to the AFC East, he's dealing with Buffalo, he's dealing with New England, he's dealing with Miami down there. So I think this is a much tougher task, but I don't think I need a Hall of Fame quarterback. I just want a quarterback that can get us to the playoffs, and then I can at least hold my head up as a Jet fan and be proud of. Matt, your thoughts? Do you need a Broadway Joe?
I do think I'm confused by the question. Like, are you saying, do you need a franchise quarterback? Because then I think the answer is yes.
A quarterback we can retire a Hall of Famer. It's the Hall of Fame quarterback piece, I think.
Oh. Not necessarily. I don't think you necessarily do, because like we talked about, I think you could get by with average quarterback play on this team and be very, very good. But the Lamar and White signing, I'm with you, Ryan, where I don't think White would be the backup in that instance. I would think it'd be someone who would play a little bit more stylistically towards Lamar, so you don't have to drastically change your offense if there was an injury.
So you're talking about Strevler, right? Green Bean, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh, yeah.
Do you put much stock in? Do you need a Broadway Joe here in New York? Do you need that Hall of Fame caliber quarterback?
No. Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, you think about all of our years literally holding up the floor of the quarterback position in the NFL. Like we've been bottom 3 all the way back to like Sanchez, man. Like we've been at the bottom. Wouldn't it be nice if now on, to contrast, the pendulum would swing and we would have somebody like that? So needed? No. I'd be very happy if we could do that. And look, as much as I'm like not on the Lamar train, I'm really not. There's a lot of red flags for me. If they do it, I'm happy, I'm psyched, the whole thing. But I'm hoping they go in a different direction. But if they did, and he's here, let's say we get him for 10 more years. And I would love to see that happen and him be a Hall of Fame guy and, take us maybe to a Super Bowl or two. I don't know if that's happened. I think I just want a quarterback that can hit 65% of his fucking passes and get more touchdowns and interceptions. And that's all I need. You know what I mean? That's all I want.
Mitt Flair drops in, says, firing Mike LaFleur left a bad taste in my mouth, almost like it's the beginning of the end for this coaching staff. The one thing I believed was that they were going to stick together and grow. I like Saleh too. I do like Saleh. I think Zach Wilson is exactly why Mike LaFleur was fired. First and foremost, it's all about the quarterback. You had to change something, and there's enough issues with players that have kind of been chirping, and it seems like there was a rift in the locker room. It seemed like he was just too introverted and didn't really confront guys the way he should have. And open communication was a very big thing that we've heard for the Jets looking in this offensive coordinator search as well. But yeah, it kind of sucks that you lose out on Mike LaFleur. Staying with Saleh here. Green Bean, I'm going to have you keep selecting our qualifiers in the chat. Guys, for every 25 likes we got, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier. So Green Bean's getting those down right now, and then we're going to pick our qualifier there. Matt, I'm going to have you go to last week's stream and get us 5 qualifiers from over there. Juan Medina drops in. Juan says, trade a 2024 pick for the Honey Badger. He has 2 years left and draft a young guy behind him. I think we can trade Lawson before we cut him and get Carr. So, Honey Badger for 2 years. I wanted Honey Badger back when we got Tremaine Johnson. I think that was the year he was a free agent. I don't know if I want Honey Badger now for what he's getting paid. I don't know what his contract is off the top of my head, but I would say probably no to Honey Badger at this point in time. I almost think this year, based on I don't want to say the restrictions, but based on needing a quarterback, needing a tackle, and some other pieces, I think we're almost going to have to rely in some capacity on Ashton Davis, Denzel Mims, Quincy Williams. I think we bring him back for linebacker and stuff. And then Mekhi Becton, whether that be as a swing tackle or maybe as right tackle. I think there's going to be, we may have to rely on some picks that Joe Douglas has already made here instead of going out and thinking we're going to, maybe replace the safety position or replace the, linebacker or whatever. Just something to think about. Matt, would you trade a 2024 pick for the Honey Badger?
No, I'm all good on 31-year-old safeties. It's just because it could fall off at any second, man. He was all right this year for the Saints, but I would hope that you're coming up with a better swing to fix safety than Tyrann Mathieu.
I agree. Green Bean, Honey Badger for you?
No, I'm the same way. I mean, I prefer the youth movement, man. You know what I mean? I like when our DJ Reed and even Jordan Whitehead, who didn't work out, I like the swing 25, 26. Like, that's what I want to see. I don't, these old guys hoping to kind of, suck a last drop out of the lemon. I'm past that. Just let's keep staying young.
Dylan, I don't like this question. He says, start, sit, cut, Huff, Johnson, Clemens. Ugh, I want all of them. All right, start, sit, cut. I'm going to start Huff because I love his explosion. And I think, unless you want to say I want to sit Huff for the first 2 plays and have him pass rush on third down, then that'll be my answer. And then I'll have Johnson first. I would cut Clemens, but Clemens I think would cut me first because Clemens is terrifying. But the only reason I'm saying cut Clemens is because he's a lower draft pick. Other than that, I love all 3 of these guys. Matt, start, sit, cut, Huff, Johnson, Clemens.
Damn, I hate doing this. Start Huff. He's the best pass rusher on the team. Sit Johnson, cut Clemens.
Green Bean, how about you? Start, sit, cut, Huff, Johnson, Clemens.
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not cutting any of them.
I want to get a 0 for this question. I don't want to.
Like that.
No, you're gonna clip me. You're gonna tell me I don't want Jermaine Johnson or something. Like,
Yeah, right. That's what happens. You know what I mean? I heard him fucking Green Bean.
I heard him say that. Clip it and put it on the internet.
Yeah, I can't do it, Dylan. I'm sorry. I want to start all of them. How's that?
I love it. Jake drops in again, said, should Jets Forever be on the Jets Super Bowl parade float? I think it will. It'll be in the 2024 February. So I'm on board with it. Guys, we had a poll question up. We almost have 200 votes on it. Who was more a pain in the butt tonight in the chat? Was it Jets Forever? Was it BYU fan? Right now, it's a dead tie, 38% to 38%.
Wow.
Jets Forever and BYU fan. I shouldn't have added the love you guys LOL because there's 24% of the vote there. So I don't know. We need ranked choice voting so we can eliminate that third option and see where it would have ultimately ended up. But yeah, let's end this poll. I like that it's an even 38-38. I think that makes me smile. Oh, no. Jets Forever. Squeak it by at the end there. 38% to BYU's 37%. Jets Forever coming home victorious. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. There was at one point in that poll, BYU fan had 100%. And with one
Did you vote first?
You want to know how I know that?
Was it you?
It was you. Green Bean screenshot and it's like, nope, this is the right results. Oh, God, I love it. All right, Matt, you got our qualifiers for us?
Yes, I can rattle off some names.
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Kim goalie.
Only like the hockey?
Position. Yeah.
Right.
Eminem Rocks 93.
Do you think that's like a new candy or like the rapper?
It's EMINEM. So
Delicious. Yeah, I like it.
I want rock M&Ms.
Yeah.
we'll go Radcliffe Murphy 5273.
5273.
Vilify a Human.
Vilify a Human?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll go Undisputed Retail.
Interesting.
Hey, man. It's a weird world we live in. Okay.
Let me get a few people that retweeted the stream. Let's throw Aaron Daniels.
Okay.
Let's go 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐞𝐞𝐽. HUNKO.
Got it.
And we're going to go Ken Duffy.
Ken Duffy.
The Duffer.
All right.
All right. Do some odds or evens. 3, 2, 1. That's a 9.
It's funny that I haven't done that joke yet. That's the first time I've ever done that. It took me 2 years.
You know what? This is like the first time you get like you got something on your shirt. Right?
Yeah.
It's classic.
All right. So that was odd.
That was odd.
All right. Nick Russo's gone. BYU fan, you are gone.
Oh, hate to see
Mr.
it.
Green Jeans is out. Jennifer Slattery's out. John is out. Eminem Rocks is gone. Vilify a Human is out of the contest. 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐞𝐽 is out. All right, we're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. That's a 6, I think, right? Yeah, 6.
All right. Balls be hurting, you're out. Ace of Spade, you're gone. Radcliffe Murphy is out. Aaron Daniels is out.
All right, let's see. How many we got?
3, 4, 5.
5 more. All right. 3, 2, 1. We got an 8. That's an even.
All right. Frank Haver's out. Undisputed Retail is out. So we're down to 3.
All right, first number after Jake Asman's name. Ooh, we're going to go Nick Russo because he threw up a 2. Let's go 3, 2, 1. 2, 4, 6, and we got the 2 from Nick Russo. That's an 8.
Oh, so now we're down to 2. Kim Goalie's out.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be the number after the VZ. 5, 6, 6 plus a 3. That's a 9. It's an odd number. What we got? Who wins?
Right. 1189 Paris, you are the winner.
Oh, I love it. 1189 Paris. Thank you so much for hanging out with us as always. Make sure you reach out to me on one of my social media platforms. Hopefully it's email. It's usually the easiest way to get in touch with me. And I will get your information. I will send you out a t-shirt. Guys, we have reached the end of our panel. I want to go around and give everyone our closing thoughts. Green Bean, any last words for our panel?
I'll tell everybody, you've been asking, I am not doing the after hours show tonight, and I'm not doing it for the remainder of draft season. We moved that block to the Monday night mock. The 10 o'clock Monday night mock started last night. We will be continuing that every Monday, 10 p.m. Come on and have some fun.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Matt, any last words for our panel?
New episode of Just Jets tomorrow. We are talking about pretty much every single offensive coordinator that's been linked to the Jets. Some playoff recap and your questions. Please tune in.
I love it. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you tonight. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the Talkin' Jets panel. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS!
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your back's against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Uzomah's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe into the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.